Aloha and welcome back to Yama Studios. My name is Hannah Maruyama. I am a scalp micropigmentation and microblading practitioner here at Yama Studios, which is a scalp micropigmentation and microblading clinic located in Honolulu, Hawaii. Today, we are going to be talking about one of the most frequently asked questions about scalp micropigmentation, and that is, what is the difference between scalp micropigmentation and microblading? Before we get into today's question, I do want to let you know that there are two books that you have got to read linked in the description below. The first one is Hair Tattoo, which is a book that I wrote for people who are considering having scalp micropigmentation done. You have got to read what's in there. It's everything that you need to know. The second book is Before the Blade, which is what you need to know before you're getting microblading or semi-permanent makeup, and that is linked below. I wrote both of these books for people who are researching into these topics to get them done. So if you're considering either one, please go ahead, get down below and check those links out, because that might really help you as you do your research. It's a great guide, just kind of every tip and trick that you need to know. So what is the difference between scalp micropigmentation and microblading? This is a great question, especially as recently I've had quite a few people coming in and asking me if I can microblade their scalp. So as a bonus, at the end of this video, I'll address scalp microblading, which is a whole nother topic, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Just as a quick overview, scalp micropigmentation is for the head and microblading is for the eyebrows. There are three big differences between scalp micropigmentation and microblading. The first one is the tools that are used. The second is the pigment that is used. The third is that the spirit of each one. Scalp micropigmentation is restorative, whereas microblading is more of a creative procedure. So I'll explain that a little more in depth as we get further into the video, but let's get into the first thing, which is our tools. All right, this is a microblade. This is a microblading handle. This blade is inserted into the microblading handle and then used to create hair strokes in an eyebrow. This is something that should never be used on the scalp. I'll go into this in a minute, but this is a microblading tool, and this is specifically the blade that's used for microblading. This is used for S&P. This is a digital rotary tool. What goes in the digital rotary tool is this. This is a cartridge. It has a membrane inside that prevents pigment from flowing back into the machine, and it's very fine, and it's also obviously digital. So it goes into the machine. The machine hooks into this little box that you see over my shoulder. This is what is going to make the tiny little circular hair follicle replications. It's dots, basically, and it's gonna make thousands of these really, really tiny, really, really fine dots over the whole head, and that's what makes scalp micropigmentation. Now, microblading makes lines, scalp micropigmentation makes dots. This is the most important distinction to remember, especially when I talk about why you shouldn't let somebody microblade your scalp. So, scalp micropigmentation is done with a machine that makes dots. Microblading is done with a manual handle that makes lines. Now let's talk about the pigment that is used to do scalp micropigmentation versus the one that's used to do microblading. So when you do scalp micropigmentation, there are two types of pigments you can use. One of them is carbon-based. This is very common to use for scalp micropigmentation. They have started to use carbon-based pigments, which are similar to traditional tattoo pigments, but they are actually adjusted so that they age correctly over time in the scalp. Now, some people use carbon-based pigments, and then some people use iron oxide-based pigments with a little bit of carbon as well, and that really helps the overall age. But the point of scalp micropigmentation is to age well with you. Now, microblading tends to fade. So microblading fades much faster, and then the pigments used for microblading are also different and usually don't contain carbon the same way that scalp micropigmentation pigments do. So it's very important to know the distinction between these two things, because it will change the outcome of the color of the pigment when you implant it either in the eyebrows or in the scalp. Okay, so I kind of just spoke about this a little bit, but fading. Microblading fades within 1 to 3 years. Scalp micropigmentation fades usually within 4 to 8 years. That is a very large difference, and the reason for that is partially because of the technique used, and then also partially because of the pigment used, which I just explained. So you're gonna have a different level of fading with microblading than you are gonna have with scalp micropigmentation. So that's really important to think about as well, because microblading doesn't last nearly as long as scalp micropigmentation lasts. Now, the nice thing about both of these techniques is that done correctly, they don't fade unnaturally. So microblading will slowly fade true to color, and scalp micropigmentation will fade the way it's implanted in order to age with you. That's very important, and it's actually a core part of the color theory that's used in scalp micropigmentation. The third factor is going to be technique. Microblading is used to make hair stroke lines. They're very tiny, they look like paper cuts, that's how small they are. Microblading makes lines, scalp micropigmentation makes dots. That's the biggest difference between the two. All right, so this is kind of getting a little bit into the weeds, but essentially, and this may more be my opinion than anything else, the goal of scalp micropigmentation is to replace a hairline or replace density where it already was in the hair. So the goal of scalp micropigmentation is to restore, the same way that you would restore a painting that's in a museum because it was beautiful the way it was. Now, with microblading, it can be used in this way, but the way it is applied now, usually in the industry, it's actually a form of creative expression for the artist. So it's very similar to going to a makeup artist. So in the way that most microbladers do it, it's more a way for them to express their artistic vision for your face. Though it sometimes looks very natural, it's more open to interpretation, whereas scalp micropigmentation is really to put you back the way you were. So functionally, I think they have two very different goals. One is to create something beautiful, the other is to replace something beautiful. So two different goals. While sometimes with eyebrow tattoo or microblading or other forms, some people do it in a way that's restorative. That tends to be my angle, which is, you know, let's put back what was there before. But other microbladers, I would say probably most, do it in a way that's more creative and that is not so much in line with your original brows. So if you take nothing else away from this video, and I don't speak out about things very often, do not microblade your scalp. Please, 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 please don't do that. There are a lot of microbladers who are very smart business people, but are not good scalp micropigmentation practitioners. So as they develop their microblading clients and scalp micropigmentation gains popularity, a lot of them are starting to microblade the scalp of their microblading clients. And oh my goodness, you would not believe what I see. Please do not let anyone microblade your scalp. It is not a good idea. There should be no line work on the scalp. There is too much sebum. That is basically oil and grease that's on your scalp. It heals horribly. Please do not let anyone do this to you. So there's something in tattoo called blowout, and that's essentially when a line goes too deep and it gets all fuzzy. And for whatever reason, it's fine on the eyebrows. If you do microblading on your scalp, it will not heal well. It is going to look, it's going to blend together, it's going to bleed together. And honestly, when that happens, it's very difficult to control the color because what's going to happen is underneath your skin, it's going to spread out. And so it may change color, not because the pigment is changing color, but because it's not placed evenly or cleanly where it's supposed to stay. So you should not let anyone microblade your scalp. If you have somebody who's done your microblading and is really phenomenal at that, that's great. But just because somebody can do your lip blush tattoo, your eyeliner tattoo, your freckle tattoo, your eyebrow tattoo, or your microblading does not mean they can do scalp micropigmentation. Microblading your scalp and scalp micropigmentation are not the same thing. Please do not let anyone who is a microblader do scalp micropigmentation unless they are qualified to do so. All right, my rant over. I'll probably make another video about this, breaking down the way that the pricing works and why it's cheap and what you're gonna have to do to reverse it if you already did it, but please don't do it. If you have any other questions, thoughts, feelings, comments, ideas, go ahead and drop those in the comments below. I would love to see them. I'd love to answer them as soon as I can. If you're considering microblading or scalp micropigmentation, please consider investing in one of my books first. It's a couple dollars and it can save you hundreds of dollars worth of pain. Please do that. Equip yourself with the information you need to make the right decision for your journey. It's very important to be well informed so that you can ask good questions of your practitioner. So go ahead, the links are below. Go ahead, check those out. And like I said, if you need to contact me, please head over to my website. It's yamastudios.co, and you can email me if you'd like a recommendation on a practitioner or a course of procedure that's right for you. I would love to help you with that. So thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe to see more videos, and I'll see you again soon. Aloha.